Phil in Dartford. Hi, Phil.
Yes, good morning, Nick. Thank you for taking my call. Basically, Nick Ferrari woke David Mellor up very early yesterday morning, and he had a rant about police corruption.
Who did, Nick Ferrari or David Mellor?
Probably a little bit of both.
David
they both
Mellor
ranted.
And I served in the police for 30 years and am now retired. I took exception to the imbalance of what David Mellor actually said. But to get to the crux of the matter regarding the Andrew Mitchell Plebgate scenario is why has this government allowed this investigation, both financially and with it being in the media, to run completely out of control? From my perspective, it appears to be an innocuous incident that was Mr. Mitchell apologised for his actions, and that's where it should have stayed. Why has this been allowed to get out of control, Nick?
Well, first thing I say to you, Phil, is I obviously work closely with the police day in, day out, and I'm hugely impressed by the professionalism and integrity of certainly the police officers I come into contact with. So I wasn't up early enough probably to hear David Mellor's early morning rant, but I certainly wouldn't just cast aspersions on everybody working the police, and I think of course that's wrong. The point here is not actually about the incident at the gates of Downing Street. You'll remember this is about the three representatives of the Police Federation who went to see Andrew Mitchell in his constituency office some days afterwards, and then came straight out of that meeting and then claimed that he hadn't provided them with his side of the story when the subsequent revelation that the meeting had been recorded shows that he made every attempt to try and explain what happened, and that he says that he didn't use the pleb word, but that he did, that he did have an outburst and he apologised for it. So I think quite rightly people feel, well, hang on a minute, why did these police officers go into that meeting in his constituency office and then come out and basically, say that he needed to resign and give an account of the meeting, which certainly doesn't seem to conform to what actually happened in the meeting. I think it's perfectly legitimate for Andrew Mitchell to feel pretty sore about that. Now, separately, you're asking, Phil, about the investigation into the actual incident, and that is entirely in the hands of the police. That's nothing to do with the government. The government's not conducting the inquiry into what happened at the gates of Downing Street, and to be honest, that is for the Met to answer about why that is taking quite as long as it appears to be taking.
Phil?
Yeah, well, I agree with a lot of what you've said, but obviously, it's got to come to mind that this is an opportunity for members of Parliament to have a snipe back at the police in the event of the investigations for cash for questions, etc. And from my perspective, that's how it appears. It appears that it's another opportunity to embarrass the Met the best way they can.
Well, hang on, Phil.
In a very minor incident.
Let's bring Mr. Clegg in, Phil. Hold on.
No, Phil, I hear what you say. Look, I don't think anybody wants. I'm sure Andrew Mitchell doesn't want this to descend to some sort of long-standing slanging match between politicians and the police. That's a bad state of affairs. But I have to say to you, on the facts of the case as revealed by the report from the Independent Police Complaints Commission, it seems to me pretty clear that those three representatives of the Police Federation who went in to see Andrew Mitchell had every intention not to listen to what he said and every intention to go out and say and to sort of condemn him. And I just don't, I think just basic fairness says that is not right, and that it is correct that the IPCC has revealed that. But
they face disciplinary hearings? Those three.
Well, it's certainly, look, the IPCC report doesn't pull its punches. It says there are serious question marks about their honesty and their integrity. It's up to the chief constables of the respective police forces where they come from.
Well, Theresa May, one of your coalition colleagues, says it's quite wrong if they do not. That is to say, they should.
I must say, I have a lot of sympathy with the idea when the independent body that is there to look into...
So they should face some form of hearing.
...says that there is questions about the integrity and honesty of police officers in this, and indeed in other instances which they look into, of course you should consider disciplinary action.
So they should, yeah. And the thing that David Mellor said, which Phil so annoyed Phil, briefly, was that if they could fit up someone such as Andrew Mitchell, they could fit up anybody. Trust is being eroded. I'm summing it up.
Well, look, it's not good for trust, as I say, between the politicians and the police. If the feeling, and clearly Phil feels this. Phil, are you a serving police officer or a former?
No, sir. I retired 18 months ago, but I served throughout
in the Met,
both in uniform and CID, and dealt with some really major incidents.
Yeah.
And I'm just aghast really that the Home Secretary has even made comment around an innocuous incident really that should have been dealt with.
But Phil, I think that you and I have got to try and strike the right balance. I'm completely with you when I say, look, it cannot be of course it's not a good thing if this becomes some ongoing slanging match between politicians and the police, of course. Secondly, I admire hugely all the work that I see that the Met does. I'm a huge admirer of the Met and indeed of police officers generally. They do fantastic work day in, day out. They put themselves in harm's way to protect the rest of us. However, when something goes wrong, surely, Phil, natural justice dictates that people should be held to account. And something clearly went wrong when these Fed representatives went into Andrew Mitchell's office with what appears to be with only one intention in mind, which was to basically go out and then tell the world's press that he needed to resign.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with you, and I question that meeting.
That's actually all this is about.
We're going to end on a piece of positive common ground, Phil. I look forward to speaking with you again.